from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Wednesday, March 30th. So the moon is going to continue to be in Pisces all day. Our heart chakras are wide open. We are aligning with our higher self. We are strengthening our connection with our intuition. We are dreamy. We are in imaginary land. And for many of us, we are working through the heaviness, the weight that Pisces season definitely put us through. Today, we are entering into the new moon window towards the end of the day. So definitely look out for the moon guide, get yourself in order. We have a lot of energy building up today. There are 10 different aspects in the cosmos and 6 of them involve the moon. The key player here today, I would say, is Venus with a supporting role of Mercury, besides all of the fine tuning that we are doing in our emotions with the moon. Right out of the gate, we have Venus, the goddess of love and beauty and worth and pleasure and joy and happiness, squaring the true node. Now, you may remember just a couple of days ago, we had that run-in between Venus and Saturn, initiating a brand new karmic cycle on where it is that we need to boss up and start really enforcing some boundaries, some rules in our personal relationships in order to balance the scales of the energy exchange that has been out of whack for a very long time. Many of us do have to boss up, especially taking control over our emotions, recognizing where it is that we've been playing small and nominating other people to be the starring role in our own lives. And now that we know better, now we have to do better. This is putting us in a little bit of conflict though, because of course the true node is trying to show us where it is that we need to be focusing our time, energy, and attention in order to bring the big dream, the big vision to life. This square, though, is a tension point. It's a conflict point. Why? Because we don't know how to move forward. We don't know in our physical realms with the current details and circumstances that we're currently being faced with. We don't know what the path actually looks like. We might have that dream, have that vision floating around, in our mind's eye, in our heart space, but we don't know how to manifest it. We don't know how to put the steps together strategically and calculated in order to actually make our dreams come into life, manifest them into our physical reality. This is putting us at odds because we don't know what it is that we need to do. We don't like feeling confused. Many of us, when we take one step forward and we enter into a new realm of territory, especially advocating for ourselves and putting ourselves first, suddenly there's this attachment. Our ego tries to pull us back. Maybe we're deluding ourselves, trying to make us think that maybe our situation wasn't that bad. Maybe I'm asking for too much. Maybe I should, work within me in order to find peace and harmony, to compromise and settle for certain circumstances. Again, may I remind you that that is the darker force agenda trying to pull you back from aligning to your higher mission, to your higher self. Venus goes ahead and bumps into Neptune. And normally Venus and Neptune, they are very high manifesting energies. Venus, of course, rules over our earthly realm, our lower level wants, needs, desires, and worth, the happiness, the joy that we create and give birth to and bring life to in our current realities. And Neptune usually rules over our higher selves. It is where we dream. It is where we concoct a vision for our future. It is where we are attuned to the higher dimensions, our higher selves, where it is that our intuition is so freaking strong that as long as we can grasp a dream and a vision on what it is that we want for ourselves, that we do have the ability to bring it down into the lower level intellect, into the ego, where that Venus energy can actually put hands on the physical elements in our physical lives in order to start bringing some of the higher dreams, the higher visions into our physical reality. But here's the thing. This little interaction is not the most pleasant. This is likely going to be a trigger and an activation in our external realms, likely coming from the very relationships that we are trying very hard to hold on to, but still enforce new boundaries within in order to protect ourselves. This outside activation, this outside trigger is going to test us on what it is that actually means the most to us. Are we going to lean all the way in and stand very firmly in advocating for ourselves in this self-love journey, trying to heal our self-love, recognize our self-worth, and therefore really demand from the people in our lives to meet us where it is that we're at, because we're tired of dimming our light to make them the star key player of our own show, or whether or not we are going to let the ego win, delude ourselves to thinking that maybe we're being too harsh, maybe we're asking for too much, maybe we have too high of expectations. There is that element that's creeping in of insecurity, doubt, fear of rejection and abandonment if we go so hard to stand up firmly and ask for what it is that we want. So this particular aspect is really going to put us at odds, because our higher self, our heart, our soul knows what we need to do. That's that Neptune energy. We want the dream. We want the vision. We want the peace. We want the love. We want the compassion. But that Venus energy, although she's very firm in trying to level up to her new self-love, her new self-worth, and really kind of ask and demand those relationships of value to meet her where it is that she's at, to support her and encourage her in her growth, she's also falling victim to the negative narrative of questioning whether or not she is worthy enough to be asking of such reciprocity, I guess, from the people that she loves. You know, sometimes we're like, well, who am I to ask this of this person? Like, you know, am I actually acting better than they are? Am I being selfish? Am I, you know, the list goes on. So I guess the key lesson here is don't let that narrative talk you out of the steps, the growth that you've just accomplished. If you find yourself in that state, in that narrative, hold the line. Don't walk back, don't walk forward, just firmly plant yourself in that present moment and let the energy crash over you. We're always in an ebb and flow. Again, the moon is in Pisces, water crashes and it settles. It is a cyclic nature, just hold the line. The moon is going to prove to be a little bit testy, let's say, when we bump into Mars. And this is going to add a little extra layer of hurt, of, let's call it frustration, irritability, maybe even anger, and passion to stand up for oneself, to fight for what it is that we believe in, to really honor our own thoughts and feelings and the position that we know in our heart space and in our head space that we should hold for ourselves. This particular energy, though, can have us acting on our feels, acting out of ego, again, projecting a lot of our doubts and insecurities and irritabilities and frustrations onto other people if we're not in alignment and standing true in our power. So we want to watch out for that as well. The moon comes up to Jupiter, and this is where the volume gets turned all the way up on the potential drama, on the potential situation that is unfolding in our exterior realm, where it is that we are recognizing an opportunity for growth, especially spiritually, understanding the soul contracts and the life lessons that are at play. And typically speaking, this is where we recognize what we're not happy about in our physical realms. And when we start realizing what it is that we're not happy about, we start imagining what it is that we want more of. So this is when we're tapping into our higher selves. We're really kind of rebuilding that dream and that vision that we want for ourselves in a futuristic sense, that we're working hard in this present moment to align with that timeline and start taking control of the physical elements that we actually have control over in the here and now, to speed up the process of being able to bring that dream and that vision to life. But at this particular point, we're so kind of frustrated and exasperated and aggravated with some of the situations going on in our physical realm that we cannot help but to realize how much more we want for ourselves. We want more love. We want more understanding. We want more patience. We want more encouragement. We want more support. We want more connection. We want more understanding. And the downside of this is, of course, when we recognize how much we are currently lacking and how uncomfortable we are and dissatisfied with our current circumstances we are, and we start really kind of visualize the kind of reality that we would want more of, then we can get stuck in a scarcity mindset, recognizing that the here and now is really just not what it is that we want. We're really not having it. We're really not feeling it. And that, of course, can lead into a little bit of a Debbie Downer type of energy and situation. But I feel like because we are in the new moon window, there is a lot of darkness. There's a lot of dark realizations in our emotions and our memories and our thoughts and our perspective that needs to come up in order for it to be kind of burned away under the new moon energy. And of course, give us a little bit of a reference on what it is that we need to create for ourselves to fill in the gaps, the voids of what it is that we're currently not satisfied with in our physical circumstances. The moon goes ahead and bumps into Saturn in not the nicest way, again playing off these earlier activations and triggers coming from the conflict in our personal relationships, the dissatisfaction that we're realizing that we're having in our physical realms. Saturn, of course, is the Lord of Karma. He's trying to show us where it is that we have built false foundations. Now, false foundations in ourselves, in our ego, in our own relationship with ourselves, in the way that we take care of ourselves, in the way we move through our day, the routines that we have, the tasks, the chores that we make in our lives, the relationships that we have, the money matters that we have, whether or not we're using the skills and talents that have been blessed and bestowed upon us for good, whether or not we are actually taking control in the moment to muster up the maturity, the courage, the bravery to take emotional control over the situation, to realize where it is up to us to create the kind of reality that we want to be living. And of course, he is in Aquarian energy. So this is very much about focusing on the dream, on the vision of the life in which we desire to be living. Because when we do that, then we can break it down into manageable pieces, step-by-step processes on how it is that we're going to get from where it is that we're at to where it is that we desire to be. But this particular aspect is showing us the roles and responsibilities in our current circumstances that we're just not jiving with anymore. The relationship dynamics that we're just not in alignment with anymore. Where it is that we just desperately feel so freaking restricted and trapped in our lives that we are just urging ourselves to bust free, to bust out, to actually do something different and get to work building a foundation, a system, a structure in our lives that not only will bridge the gap from where it is that we're at to where it is that we want to be, but will lay the groundwork for the kind of reality that we need to be kind of building upon. And a lot of this has to do with emotional accountability, emotional responsibility, emotional maturity. Mercury comes into play and semi-squares Saturn as well. And let me just say that Mercury is fresh into Aries energy. We're seeing this pop off in our headspace. There's a lot of ideas coming in. There's a lot of decisions coming up for us to make. We're very aggressive. We're very passionate in our communication styles. We're very blunt. We're very direct. We are 100% advocating for ourselves. Not necessarily a bad thing, but again, we have to make sure that we're operating from our heart and soul instead of our ego self and wounds. And Mercury at this point, a semi-square, is a little bit of a tension with the Lord of Karma, who is very focused on us bossing up and actually taking control over our lives, especially where building new systems, foundations, relationships are concerned. This particular energy will likely have us speaking our truth, speaking our heart and soul, expressing ourselves. Now, are we going to do it from an ego sense, projecting all kind of hate and drama and just spitting off just to be heard? Well, that choice is yours. Ideally, we would be aligning with our heart space, standing in our power, speaking our truth on what it is that we want, need, and desire, where it is that we're feeling let down and disappointed, dissatisfied in our lives. And this is really an opportunity to get our minds right. This is a perspective. This is a shift in understanding where some of the tough love life lessons that have been taking place in our lives has been pushing us into finding our truest power, our truest essence, what actually means the most to us, where it is that we feel blocked in our mental plane, feel blocked in our heart space, in our physical lives. We have to understand that where we feel trapped, where we feel restricted, where we feel blocked and challenged in life, that is where we essentially need to pour all of our time, energy, and attention right now to liberate ourselves, to set ourselves free. So up until this point, and this will take us about 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Up until this point, it's a pretty rocky morning, I will say. It's an internal battle. We're being activated by external circumstances to try and have us act out in our egoic patterns and behaviors, keeping that trauma, keeping that lower vibrational frequency alive. And then the moon sextiles the true node just after 5 p.m. And this is a beautiful energy because suddenly there is a shift in our heart space. There is a shift in our head space. We are kind of talking ourselves down from the, cliff that we've been on for the better part of the morning. We are recognizing where it is that, if we put all of our fears, our doubts, our insecurities aside, if we kind of, cut the ego off for 2 seconds just to align with our higher self, with our heart, with our soul, we actually know the direction that we want to take, that we should take. We feel a new meaning, we feel a new purpose, we feel a new mission kind of be downloaded within us. And with the moon sextiling the true node, of course, is trying to show us the point, the direction that we should be aiming for in order to reach our soul's highest potential in experience and in expression. And the moon in Pisces at this point is just really about holding that dream and fine-tuning the details of that vision and trusting the plan and trusting that our heart and soul is inspiring us and motivating us to make such a dramatic change that it has to be better than the circumstances in which we've been feeling trapped in. And yes, change is scary. Yes, things have to end in order for beginnings to take place. And yes, the weight of the world that Pisces season had put on our heart space, our head space, and our shoulders is kind of being brought up again in order for us to realize where it is that those life lessons were needed in order to open up the path of possibilities that our heart and soul is now inspired to actually pursue. This is the point in time when the moon goes ahead and conjuncts, sit next to, meets up with Neptune. Neptune rules over Pisces energy. Neptune has been in its place of power for quite some time now. The moon in Pisces is our emotions, our unconscious self, our heart space, if you will. Neptune, again, is the dreams, is the intuition, is the karma, is the soul contract, is the vision space that we have to move into in order to create a vision and a dream for ourselves to actually be motivated in this here and now to get up every day and to constantly push forward and to constantly want to be better in order to pursue this end goal, this end vision. So at this particular point, I will say it's very overwhelming. Our emotions are overwhelming. Our thoughts are overwhelming. The dream and vision is overwhelming. Now, does that mean that overwhelming is necessarily a bad thing? No. We could be overly inspired. We could be overwhelmed with the dream, with the vision, with the thoughts, with the emotion of what it would actually feel like to bring this dream, this vision to reality. We could be overwhelmed and overstimulated with this, higher intellect that we're pulling in from our intuition. Being overwhelmed isn't necessarily a bad thing, but of course you have to have strong intuitional and energetic boundaries in order to harness the energy that comes in from the cosmos. And this is why some people get overwhelmed to the point where they just want to escape reality, where they want to isolate, where they just want to ground, where they just want to, float off into la la land and kind of stare at a wall or just, get lost in the dream and in the vision and the fantasy. Again, the choice is yours. How you choose to use this energy is totally up to you. The moon goes ahead and bumps into Venus in not the most pleasant way, but a good reminder, a good reflection now that we've had this vision, we've had this inspiration, we've had this visual on what it is that really is igniting a new passion, a new purpose, a new mission within us. The moon goes back to bump into Venus, especially after her upset earlier in the day, to see what it is that we absolutely know now by taking this dream, taking this vision, taking these beautiful feelings that we've just been overwhelmed with, what it is that we actually need for our emotional safety, for our emotional security, what it is that we need to do in these personal relationships that are causing a little bit more friction and drama that we would prefer not to have. But again, you get shown very quickly when you go ahead and you boss up and you start enforcing boundaries, you get to see who is there for you and who is there for them. Because anybody that is not respecting your boundaries, that is not supporting and encouraging you to grow in putting boundaries in place, If they're not happy about that, it's because that they can no longer get to you. They can no longer control you. They are no longer taking advantage of you. Those people are not there for you. The people that are truly 100% aligned with you will see how much effort, how much healing it takes in order to make a dramatic change in your life, to go ahead and advocate for yourself, to enforce a boundary, and they will respect it. They will do whatever they need to do in order to stay connected to you, to stay a part of your life. So if you are at the point where you are making dramatic changes because you've done the work in your own healing and your own self-worth to go ahead and to declare what it is that you want, need, and desire from your relationships, and they are running away from you, please let them go. Please understand that you did not do anything wrong. Please understand that they were only connected with you because they had the upper hand over you. And please understand that if you go ahead and you declare your want, needs, and desires, and that the person sticks around and does everything that they can to try and respect the new version of yourself that you're trying to bring to life, that person is 100% down for you. That person will do whatever needs to be done in order to continue having you in their life, and that is the kind of energy that you need to surround yourself with. We end the day off with the sun making a very beautiful, harmonious aspect with Pluto, the great transformer. This is a beautiful energy because it essentially takes all the cluster effing that we've been through and it puts us in a position where finally we muster up a brand new will, a brand new determination to make the changes, to do the transformations in our personal life, within our psyche, within our heart space, within our physical realm of action, and in the physical circumstances that, again, we are recognizing that we're not happy with. We are now to the point where we are brave enough to actually stand our ground, to not walk back, to not turn around and run from the growth that we have just done, regardless of how it is that we are received by other people. The sun in Aries just wants to move forward, and the Plutonian energy wants to really kind of lend us a power coming from the pain, coming from the suffering, coming from the discomfort, to show us that this is how the greatest transformations are made. This is a realization of the things that we do not want to go back to, the things that we are no longer willing to tolerate. And sometimes that energy is the energy that we need in order to make the greatest changes, the greatest transformations possible inside of ourselves and in our physical realm.